Hi everyone, my name is Jonathan Zhang and I'm part of the Basis Bugle. Today we got a new college counselor, Mr. G, and we're going to be interviewing him. So first things first is I want to know a little bit about your background, like where you grew up, high school, college, and etc.
Well, thank you for having me. I grew up in Los Angeles, born and raised. First generation. My parents emigrated from Eritrea, small country in Northeast Africa, somewhere in the mid 80s. I went to Fairfax High School in central Los Angeles. After that, I went to El Camino College, did my 2 years there, got my associate's degree in communication studies. After that, I transferred to Long Beach State, finished up my last 2 years, got my bachelor's, took about a year off, and in between that time of graduating from Long Beach State and going into grad school, I started substitute teaching in Long Beach area, coaching high school basketball in the South Bay area as well. So I was working in education for a while before I started my master's program with the University of Miami, which I just finished up this past May. So that's kind of my background as far as education goes.
Very impressive. And could you give a bit more details about how your experience was at Fairfax High School?
Yeah, so I lived it there. For me, that school is representative of Los Angeles. You have economic diversity, you have ethnic diversity. It's a really diverse school with a lot of different ideas that are brought to you. You meet a lot of different people. I enjoyed my time there a lot. I think it was a great school for me personally.
Did you participate in a lot of sports, extracurriculars, or stuff like that?
Definitely. I was big on basketball. Fairfax is a big basketball school. I tell some of the kids here, it's kind of like how Basis is with academics, but just with basketball over there. So yeah, that was kind of my life. It kind of revolved around just the academics and being on the basketball team. That was my identity, more or less, as a young person.
How would you say they place against like powerhouses like Mater Dei and stuff like that?
Ooh, we gave some of those schools a really good run. We even beat some of those schools. Our biggest rival was Westchester. So that's one of the biggest rivalries in the city is Fairfax Westchester. Those two games sell out every year. But yeah, we played a lot of top schools, a lot of top players, like Kevin Durant, for example. So yeah, Fairfax was a legitimate school, exposed me to a lot of things on the basketball side that actually translated to skills that helped me out as a coach and also as a college counselor.
Who were like one of the like most impressive players? Like, did you ever meet like the Ball brothers? Did you ever play against them?
So personally, I mean, I coached against Josh Christopher, who not right now is maybe not the biggest name, but he went to Arizona State, was a second round draft pick this year, I believe, from the Houston Rockets. So that was a cool experience, was coaching against him and seeing how somebody at that level operates. So yeah, that was definitely a good moment for me as a coach.
Very cool. And how did you find out about Basis, like as a school?
Well, I was applying for jobs, I would say, since January, in anticipation of me finishing my master's program. And outside of looking for jobs in the Los Angeles area, I was thinking of places that I would also be comfortable living. And one of those places was the Phoenix area, being that I have family here. My best friend moved here in 2018. So I was comfortable looking for positions here in education. And while looking through one of those sites, I ended up coming across this position. I looked into Basis and everything that they're about, and I thought that it matched up with my ideals and where I wanted to go moving forward. So I just applied.
Very cool. And what is your experience so far in terms of like the pros and cons?
My experience, all in all, it's been a very good experience. I've had jobs in the past where when you walk out that building, it feels like a weight has been lifted off your shoulders because of how much work you've put in and how difficult it is on you mentally. And I don't feel that when I leave here. I kind of just go on about my day and just do the things I enjoy. I enjoy the pros, definitely the staff. There's been a lot of helpful staff. We help each other a lot in different areas, even little things like if we see that someone's printed something, but they aren't there to get it, we'll just deliver it to their room, or subbing in other teachers' classes, things like that. The students for sure have been helpful a lot, knowing that I'm new and learning about the culture and everything that goes into this position. They've helped me a lot to get acclimated to that. As far as the cons, Well, one is the Arizona heat. I'm still not used to that at all.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's one thing I miss about LA the most, it might be the ocean breeze. For sure.
Fair enough.
So yeah, getting adjusted to that, just getting adjusted to everything that comes with a position like this, which is the first time I've been a counselor at this level. Those are the cons, but all in all, it's been a great experience, honestly.
That's good to hear. And would you say it's like stressful, like a stressful job?
Not at all. Not at all. I think my perspective is a bit different. The things that stress me out aren't necessarily work related. It's just life related. So I don't get too stressed out by that. I'm able to compartmentalize, step back, not get too emotional about any kind of obstacles that might come about. And I just look at, all right, how can I solve this? What's the best way to go about this? What are the steps to fix this issue? So I don't really get stressed out by anything that comes from work. I think I've had enough real life issues and experiences to where, in comparison, any issue that might come about here kind of pales.
Okay, that's good to hear. And Basis is really known for like having like a lot of nerds, right? Like we're not good at sports. We're like hyper competitive on subjects. Yeah. And you coming from like a really diverse high school, like how does that make you feel?
It's different for me. It's funny because I see some of the same traits I would see in other students that you guys wouldn't even think to compare yourselves to, and you guys. So, you know, you guys are very big on your academics, and that's kind of how you stack up against each other. And that competitiveness is the same competitiveness I would see in my high school, except it was in a different context, and we would do that with sports. So it's interesting to see the same sort of dynamic, but just in a wildly different context.
Okay, that's cool. And then would you, like, if you were to improve like Basis's sports records, what would you want to do if you had the power?
Ooh, how would I improve that?
Yeah.
I think you have to build a culture. That's number one, and it has to be player oriented, and you have to do things to show that your athletics program is worth participating in. So for example, for certain athletes, it's little things that do it for them. It could just mean as a basketball player, just having a court that isn't slippery and you're able to go into without, you know, potentially injuring yourself. Or the little things like having, you know, nice clothes or things like that to make you feel good about yourself when you're wearing that and representing your school. Having coaches that truly show that they care about players and aren't just all about work, but especially at this school, that understand the kind of balance that they need. So I think just investing more into academics, it doesn't even have to mean financially investing more, but just investing in athletics as far as coaches go, time commitment, facilities. I think that goes a long way.
At your old high school, what kind of facilities did you have? Like a full basketball court, full football court?
Yeah, so I mean, we had what a lot of the other typical big public schools have. So we'd have our main gym, and then we'd have a small gym or an auxiliary gym that we would use for practices if the main gym was being occupied or things like that. Of course, a weight room. Fairfax was a bit different because by the time I got there, we had been able to build ourselves up to a point where we had a sponsorship, which at that time not too many schools had. So that was what attracted a lot of students, a lot of athletes to Fairfax, was beyond the things that were already in place, like the facilities and the coaching staff, which was legendary. We had free LeBron shoes that we would get, free Nike gear. And so, I mean, if you're 15, 16, and they're throwing some free shoes at you. Yeah, and shoes that, I mean, a lot of guys, once they graduate or throw off the team, they're able to sell those shoes, which they don't make and sell to the general public. They're able to sell those for $500-$600 at a time. And so, yeah, that program was very attractive to players, and it showed because they cared about their players.
Okay, fair enough. And on a side note, you know, are you like a big sneakerhead or are there like certain brands that you like?
Ooh, I wouldn't say I'm too big of a sneakerhead, honestly, because of the money. If I had more money, I probably would be a bit more of a sneakerhead. But I do enjoy good-looking shoes. My favorite pair of Nikes probably Air Max 97s.
Okay.
Air Max 97s, I love the design on those. You'll see me out here on campus with a couple of them on. I just love the versatility and how you can fit a lot of different colors onto that design. I love that shoe, the 97, my favorite.
Got it. I see you rocking the Adidas Bape sometimes.
Sometimes.
What are your thoughts towards like Bape and other streetwear brands?
Ooh, for me, man, I grew up on that. I grew up in Central Los Angeles before I moved to South LA when I was 15 or 16. So Central LA has a lot of boutiques, a lot of streetwear brands that are trying to build their name, some that are already established. So you're exposed to a lot of things in a small area. Just at Fairfax High School, I mean, that street is famous. Fairfax and Melrose is the intersection of my school. Both those streets are famous for what they bring to the city culturally. And so streetwear has always been a part of me, always been something that I was interested in. I would always go to the 100 store right across the street from Fairfax or to Supreme. And I just enjoyed the culture, just seeing people there kicking it outside, skateboarding, just hanging out with their friends. Seeing people who would eventually become known to the general public, people who became famous before they were that person, was interesting as well too. Seeing Tyler the Creator just skateboard outside of your school at 7 in the morning was very interesting, and I think an aspect of school that was unique to Fairfax High that I enjoyed a lot.
That's super cool that you got to meet Tyler and see him.
Yeah.
And if you were to list like your top 5 brands right now, which ones would you choose?
Oh, my top 5 brands. That's a tough one. It's tough, one, because I'm old, two, because I have a lot that I am interested in. If I did have to list them, though, number 1 for me is Stussy, as far as streetwear brands go. They've been so consistent with the clothes they have dropped for so long, and everything from their t-shirts to their flannels, their shorts. I think everything they make is high quality, and it has been for a very long time. A lot of brands have came and went since they've come onto the scene, but they've always stood strong. So Stussy is one for me.
Gotcha.
2, I have to go Nike.
Nike.
Nike, of course, it's just they do everything.
Yep.
And if you're an athlete, they make apparel for you that you can wear on the court. They make apparel for you that you can wear off it. So Nike as well, for sure. Number 3. Now it's gonna get a bit tough. Number 3, I would go. It's either, I think, Vans.
Vans?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Vans. Just a classic shoe. In Los Angeles growing up too, that was one of those. It's everyone has a pair of Vans or Chuck Taylors.
Yep.
You might be somebody who's into other brands as well. You might have your Jordans, you might have your Adidas, whatever. Everyone has Vans and everyone has Chuck Taylors in LA. And that will always be true no matter what's in style or what's in trend. So growing up there, I think Vans is another one similar to the first 2 brands I mentioned, show a lot of consistency. All right, so now we're at number 4. Number 4, I'm looking around to see what I have on me to see if I'm missing anything. 4 would be Adidas, maybe.
Adidas? Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I think Adidas is 4, just for a lot of the same reasons maybe I have Nike up there, in that they've been so consistent for so long. I like Adidas more for their performance aspects as well, especially as an athlete. I think they're underrated in that part. Their shoes are just as comfortable as Nike's as far as Encore goes. They have a lot of they make a lot of apparel outside of that's real forward thinking and innovative. So I like Adidas as well a lot.
Are you a fan of their collabs with like a bunch of like other like celebrities and stuff like that? Like with Pharrell and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, I've seen some of the Pharrell sneakers that they've had. I was big on, and this wasn't really collaboration, but when I was younger, I had some of those, the BBC, Pharrell, the shoes, the gear, all that. So yeah, him collaborating with them now, that's something, man. If I was younger, you would have seen me wearing probably nothing but that.
Gotcha.
Yeah. 5th one, maybe a bit of a curveball, but for me and where I grew up, this will always be a brand I love, even if I don't wear them as much anymore, is the Hundreds. So they're a brand that built themselves up right on Fairfax and Rosewood, Rosewood is just a small street right next to Melrose, but they were right by the school, and I felt like my growth was parallel to their growth as well, and they started gaining popularity as I started to grow up as a person, and I love their brand. I loved what they stood for. It was really their ownership was diverse. The people that worked there were real cool, unlike some of the other spots you'll see around Fairfax where they're kind of snobby and bougie. But the Hundreds is something that I will always love, I'll always connect it back to my high school days, and so it always reminds me of
That's
that.
like a really strong personal connection, right?
Definitely. On top of them being a quality brand.
Okay, I gotta check that one out. And then next question would be, how would you describe your personality? Like, are you like an extrovert, introvert, in between? You know, are you like to go out and stuff?
I'm definitely an introvert.
Really?
100%. 100%. I think with people I'm comfortable around, they might think that I am an extrovert, but that's certainly not the case. I don't enjoy going out too much. I don't like being in I don't like being in crowds. I'm more of a low-key person. I like small gatherings with the people I know. So yeah, that's just kind of how I operate. I'm not really somebody who needs a ton of friends. I just need a small circle that's kind of tight, and I can roll with that.
Gotcha. And then being an introvert, like approaching like a totally new school environment with, you know, so many new faculty and hundreds of new kids, how does that make you feel?
Well, there are aspects to this school that honestly make that tough. For example, it is kind of intimidating working here. Knowing how much the students here know, how high achieving they are, what their expectations for themselves are, I know that those expectations are similarly high for somebody like me. And so adjusting to that and trying to meet those expectations it was a bit nerve-wracking early on. I think I'm at the point now where I have a handle on what my role is here at this school, what you guys need out of me, and I think I'm pretty confident in being able to meet those needs.
Gotcha. And then switching on to sports now. So I know basketball was big for you.
Yeah.
And what position did you play?
I am, because I'm still hooping.
Okay.
And I never will stop.
Okay.
Shooting guard, small forward-ish. Yeah.
Okay. Any favorite teams, players?
Oh, the Los Angeles teams.
Los Angeles.
I'm a Lakers fan through and through.
Lakers fan?
Yeah.
Favorite player on the Lakers right now?
Favorite player on the Lakers right now? Yeah. I don't want to be. I mean, it's LeBron James. It has to be. Yeah, it has to be. Has to be.
Favorite player by position.
Favorite player by position.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not saying this because this guy's a Laker. I've been a fan of his since 2008, or even before that. Russell Westbrook always will be my favorite point guard. Always. Yeah. Okay. I just love the attitude he brings to the game, his enthusiasm, how he's not too cool to play hard every single play. I love Russell Westbrook. Of course, being a Los Angeles native, specifically a South Central LA native, that doesn't hurt as well. My favorite shooting guard. Oh, there's so many to choose from. My favorite shooting guard, I would say James Harden.
James Harden? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Which surprised another LA guy, but he is one of the most creative players to ever play basketball. Extremely innovative, things outside the box. And he's changed the way basketball is played on the offensive end. And there's a lot of things that people can say about him. Maybe not the most dedicated player, but he's absolutely brilliant. And I think there's a lot that people can take from him, especially youth, being that he's not somebody that can jump like LeBron James. He's not as fast as Russell Westbrook, but he's a brilliant basketball player. So James Harden would be my favorite shooting guard.
Got it.
My favorite small forward, that's a pretty easy one. LeBron James.
Yep.
I mean, what else is there to say? He's someone who had incredibly high expectations before he came into the league and somehow exceeded them. And of course, being a Laker was just the cherry on top. And when that happened, I almost lost it, especially considering where the Lakers were at that time when he came. They needed somebody like him, and he just completely another guy who's just changed the way the game is played. And you can draw a line from the way basketball was played before he got into the league to the way it was played after, and he's definitely the biggest catalyst. I think before he got into the league, you would see a lot of isolation basketball, guys going one-on-one, and ever since then, you'd see more guys like him that come into the league, guys like Luka Doncic or guys like John Wall, who are guys who just want to do everything, who are team guys, who aren't just isolation players. So LeBron James changed the game forever for sure. Power forward. I'm trying my hardest not to pick another Laker because the easy answer is Anthony Davis. Let's see, who else can I pick for the power forward spot? Is this right now or is this just all time?
All time.
Oh. Man, all time. My favorite power forward. Let's see. You know, I it might be a cop out answer. I guess I'll just say Anthony Davis again.
Mm-hmm. Okay, fair enough.
Another guy who absolutely dominant from the second he came into the league. I love his attitude. He's just a low key guy who just works hard, gets better every single year, does everything on the court, even at his level, being a star. He's still not scared to do the dirty work. Get down there and block shots or rotate on defense, things like that. That guys who are successful as him aren't willing to do anymore. So Anthony Davis, my favorite power forward for sure.
Gotcha. And then center, last one.
Center.
All time.
All time.
So you can even include Shaquille if you wanted.
It's almost like you read my mind, Jonathan. It's almost like you read my mind.
That's what I thought. All right, Shaquille O'Neal it is.
And I mean, so of course, these are my personal ones. So for somebody like me who grew up in LA and who grew up watching basketball in the early 2000s, I mean, there was no way you were not going to be drawn into Shaq.
Yep.
Especially if you don't, you could watch basketball for the first time, or you could be an absolute expert, and your takeaway is going to be, wow, this guy is ridiculous.
Yep. Wow.
And when you're 7 or 8 and you don't know too much about the nuance of basketball, you just want to see guys just wreck it. And he was the most dominant player I have ever seen. There was nothing you could do with them. You got guys that are 250 plus pounds jumping on his back. He's just taking them up with him and dunking it. One of the most exciting players to watch, and personality wise too, people see it now.
Yeah.
One of the more fun personalities, just a great person overall, philanthropic person, very giving person, caring person, and he's known for that too in LA as well. So definitely my favorite center of all time is Shaq.
Shaq, got it. And switching topics again, besides sports, how else do you like to spend your time in terms of hobbies?
Ooh. That's tough. Well, so much of my time was dedicated to just the various aspects of sports. So if I wasn't playing basketball, I was coaching it, which was a hobby for me as much as it was a job, or I was talking about it with my friends. But besides that, music is a really important part of my life. Not just in the general sense that how everyone listens to music, but it's very therapeutic for me, and I spend a lot of time trying to find new music. Back in the day, and you guys are too young to really know about this, but SoundCloud surfing was a thing.
Okay.
To where I would just find a song I liked on SoundCloud, and just their algorithm was really good for trying to discover new music. And from there I would just jump and find another song, and from there it would recommend me another song. So a hobby of mine is really just finding new music that I enjoy. Sometimes I'll find a random song from an artist I've never heard of in 2012. And it'll be a German artist or something like that. And from there, I'll just go deeper into their catalog, or I'll find similar artists. So finding new music is a big hobby for me.
Finding new music, gotcha. Yeah. And on the topic of music, what are your favorite genres to listen to?
My favorite genres? Well, rap, one is rap, but specifically South LA rap.
South LA rap.
Yeah, the older I get, the more regional as far as rap goes, the more regional my taste goes. So definitely South LA rap. It just sounds like where I grew up, and it's hard to really explain that. I think it's something to where if you were in that neighborhood, if you grew up in that community, those sounds would just resonate with you different for sure.
Gotcha. And could you name some of your favorite artists right now?
Ooh. Well, I will say so. I listen to two kinds of music. So if it's not LA rap, it's electronic, but the new kind of electronic where it kind of morphs R&B, rap, and different elements of traditional electronic music into one. So an artist for example, FKA Twigs or Toki Monster, those are two artists in that genre who I listen to a lot. As far as the LA rap goes, my favorite artist that I listen to, O3 Greedo, one of my favorites.
Gotcha.
Strong melodies, very good rapper, someone who represents LA very well. I could say the same for G Perico. He's someone who has a really old school sound but has new modern elements in his music.
Are you into any of the big mainstream, or are you more focused on the LA?
Ooh, I do listen to some of the bigger, more mainstream artists. I have to keep it LA because I always do. So YG is one of them. Okay, YG. Yeah, YG is somebody who his music from when I was in high school to now just kind of fit wherever I was at. And so back when he started making music in 2009, 2010, 11, it was real just party stuff, real loose and fun music, which fit where I was at the time. 2009, 10, 11, I was in high school and I was trying to have fun. And so that fit. And the older he got, the older I got, the music became a bit more serious. It became more reflective of his surroundings and how he grew up. And that fell in line with where I was at personally, and realizing just how different things were in South Central, just how much I didn't have. And so that music reflected that. He's someone who I've always been able to track in that way, where his music always lined up with where I felt I was at personally.
Gotcha. And I know you were talking about SoundCloud and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Are you a fan of like the SoundCloud rap sort of theme, or not really?
Well, the genre itself, if you want to call it a genre, what people have labeled that as, not necessarily. But I think those artists do need more respect for what they have done and the new generation they ushered in, and how much more agency they're over to take with how they're able to release their music and profit off of it. And so respect needs to be given to them just for that, if not for anything substantive. And a lot of the same artists who will talk down on SoundCloud rap or mumble rap took elements from that, incorporated it in their music, and became successful with it. So they got a lot of disrespect. Some of it honestly deservedly so. But I think they did a lot for music and rap specifically, for sure.
Okay, fair enough. And are you like a big concert guy?
Well, before COVID, definitely. I went to my fair share of concerts or festivals. I was able to see Kanye and Kid Cudi at Camp Flog Gnaw.
Oh, okay.
I saw Playboi Carti at Camp Flog Gnaw
Nice.
at Dodger Stadium 2018. I've seen Future live. Yeah, those are the artists that I can think of off the top of my head. I definitely plan on going to more shows when the restrictions are fully lifted, or I feel more comfortable doing so.
Gotcha. And switching away from music, what are some of your favorite things to eat?
Ooh, my favorite things to eat. Since I was a kid, pizza. Pizza's been, it's hard for me to not like pizza.
Yeah.
You really got to try to make a bad pizza for me not to like it. Growing up in LA, I always loved anything I could get from a taco truck. There are just so many, and they make such quality food for a cheap price. And you're also supporting low-income people. So you're supporting your community by doing so.
What kind of tacos? Like birria? Like which ones are we talking about?
Birria, the traditional. There's the traditional chicken ones, the carne asadas, burritos, of course. Like I love it all. Anything I can get from a truck.
Gotcha. And in terms of pizza, are you like a deep dish kind of guy, thin crust, New York? Like what's your specialty?
I like most kinds, honestly. It just depends on what you're in the mood for. If I'm really, really, really hungry, then I'm gonna go deep dish.
Deep dish? Okay.
Yeah. If I'm just kind of casually looking for a lunch, I'm not too hungry, I might get some Italian traditional wood-fired pizza. And so it just kind of depends on the mood. If I'm in a pinch and I'm like, you know what, I just need some pizza, but I don't have too much time, I might just say why not, and just get some chain pizza. So it really just depends.
And then in terms of like cuisines, like I know you like taco trucks, like
Yeah.
like a big Mexican, Italian, Chinese, like Middle Eastern, like which ones?
In terms of what?
Like in terms of like cuisines, like Mexican food you like, Italian, like which ones do you tend to orient towards?
Italian.
Italian.
Just because I love marinara, and a lot of their food is marinara based.
Fair enough.
Yeah. If I'm at home though, I'm gonna eat a lot of Eritrean food. Traditional food that my mom makes from home. So that's a lot of injera, and within that injera, there's variations of it where I can have shuro, tebhi, different dishes like that. Traditional Eritrean dishes.
Is it hard to get like traditional Eritrean dishes like in the LA area, or no?
In the LA area, no, not at all.
Oh, okay.
I think even if I didn't come from an Eritrean family and I was interested in it, for example, there's Little Ethiopia, which is just a street or a block on Fairfax Avenue in Los Angeles that has a bunch of Ethiopian and Eritrean restaurants. So you could just go there and you would get your fix that way if you wanted to.
Gotcha. And then switching to another topic, how do you personally deal with stress?
How do I deal with stress? For me, I like to just get away and go to my safe space, which for me is just playing basketball and listening to music at the same time. So for example, in LA, I live 5-6 minutes away from a 24-hour fitness gym, open 24 hours a day. And if I ever was stressed out and needed to get away, I would just head over to that gym. It could be 2 or 3 in the morning with my headphones on and my basketball, and I would just shoot around in the gym for an hour, 2 hours, however long, until I felt like I was in a better place mentally, and I felt like I was reset. So that's definitely one of my ways I de-stress.
Do you feel like talking to others and just like venting your issues helps you?
It does. I would caution with who you bring those issues to, though. Through no fault of their own, your friends are not always well equipped to handle personal issues, but it definitely does help to talk about issues with someone who might be able to relate. And it sounds dumb, but even just knowing that someone else is going through the same thing that you are, that alone will help you feel better, even if nothing's actually solved. So I think talking through your problems with somebody is definitely helpful, as long as you're talking to the right person.
Gotcha. And then what is something like special or quirky about you that you think that makes you you? Like not a lot of other people have that quality.
I think one quality or trait that I have that a lot of people don't have is my ability to adapt in different environments without changing who I am or without conforming.
Gotcha.
I've been able to work in schools in South Central LA, and I've been able to work in schools like over here in Peoria. And I feel like in both places, even with widely different demographics, from income to the racial demographics, I've been able to be myself without having to really change who I am. I don't think that's a trait or a skill that a lot of people have. Some people are very rigid and set on who they are, and that causes problems in the workplace or just generally in life. Some people just conform, and they don't really have a very strong identity, and they're not themselves, and that kind of shows. So I think that's a talent or a gift that I have, is just to be able to be myself and adapt in environments without changing who I am.
I like that. And finally, we'll just end off with, do you have any words of advice for like the students watching?
Words of advice. I would say embrace who you are, learn who you are. Yeah, you have to embrace it. You can't live life for anyone else other than you. You have to, and it sounds cliche, but you have to do what makes you happy. Not with what you think will make you successful, not with what you will think will make your parents happy, but you have to do what makes you happy. And as long as you follow that course, you will find success in everything else that comes along with it. But you need to center yourself first and do what you need to do to satisfy yourself.
Gotcha. I think those words will be very impactful on our students.
I hope so.
Thank you so much for sitting down with us and spending 30 minutes of your lunchtime to discuss.
Yes, sir. Anytime.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. G.
Thank you.